y'all. Hello. Hello. Hello up in the mezzanine. Ladies and gents, this is the moment you've been waiting for. Thanks for coming uptown, y'all. How many people are seeing Greatest Showman for the first time tonight? Make noise, make noise. How many people have seen Greatest Showman before? First of all, this is not technically a sing-along performance. That being said, you sing along all you like. Second of all, I'm going to ask you a favor while we watch. When I first saw this movie with my parents, my dad, as you know, loves this show. In fact, he's the one walking around wearing a red jacket. You will see him. My mom had never seen it. We had both seen it like 10 times. And this is a mild spoiler, but there was a moment when Zendaya, on a trapeze, lifts Zac Efron into the air. My mom did not know this was going to happen. She takes movies very literally. And at that moment, at the climax of this song that's happening, she screamed at the screen, "He's not trained!" Poor little Troy Bolton was not trained. So if you do me a favor, when we get to that moment in the movie, can we all scream, "He's not trained"? Thank you. I have an incredibly special guest today. You know him as a million things because he is a Renaissance man, and he's doing us an enormous favor by coming here and talking to us before his matinee at the Music Man. Please give it up for Hugh Jackman!
It's beautiful. Good morning. It probably isn't morning, but it feels like it.
Well, you have a whole show to do after this, so thank you for being here. I have so many questions and not a lot of time. First of all, when it comes to musical ideas, Pop P.T. Barnum is about as bad an elevator pitch as rapping Founding Fathers. So, how did this journey start for you, and how did you get involved with this film?
And I didn't pitch it at the White House either, which was kind of one of your first pitches. Well, Larry Mark, is this too loud? Feels loud? No? Might have just been that martini last night, I'm not sure. So Larry Mark produced the Oscars, which I hosted in 2009, and so, thank you. So, I wasn't fishing, by the way, but, so he came into my office and said, "Hey, you know, the whole world, a lot of the world knows you as Wolverine. I think now you've done the Oscars, people know that there's another side to you. We should do something, and I've got this idea," and he had this massive coffee table book about circus and Barnum. And I was like, "Yeah. So, what do you think?" He goes, "Well, let's do a musical about Barnum." I was like, "All right." Honestly, in my head, I'm like, "Yeah, sure, whatever. Like, sounds like a good idea." We pitched it to Fox. Fox said, "Yeah, great, write a script." The script came back in 6 months, and it was really good. But we all knew this was a musical, and so there was no music. It was like insert song, insert song, insert song. I think the first song was written 4 years later. So yeah,
Wow.
For me, it seemed like a good idea. I thought it was a 10% chance this movie ever got made, at best. So anyway, it took us 8 years to finally get it made.
That brings me to, I asked for some questions from the outside world, and this question comes from Ben Pasek, who is the lyricist for Greatest Showman. And he said, I think a fun question for him and your audience might be something about when he decided to actually do the movie. He was in and then out a bunch of times. What was the moment when you fully committed He says he remembers there being a dramatic moment when Michael Gracie, the director, flew to Australia to pitch you new material. Again, this is a weird idea for a movie, you guys. So I can't, you know,
I don't know if I've talked about this a lot,
but you can't say yes until the songs are there.
Right. And by the way, Justin and Benj, who you guys all know and love,
brilliant songwriters,
were not in at the beginning. So the original idea was we were going to have modern music, so we'll get like a greatest hits of different writers, Pharrell, Macklemore Lewis, whoever, to write different stuff. Actually, Ryan Lewis did write it. That beat at the beginning of the first song, that's Ryan Lewis. So that was the original idea, and a lot of people pitched Bruno Mars, and different songs came in. We worked on some of the songs, and the real greatest showman of this movie is Michael Gracie, who is a director who directed this movie, and it was his first movie. He found Justin and Benj. It's a long story how they came to be, but they were still in college at the time, and they pitched a song called A Million Dreams. So for a long time, for a long time, we only had 3 songs. So we were pitching it to different people, and we played 3 songs. And of the 3 songs, only one was Justin Benj. It was Million Dreams, and it was clearly, the first time I heard it, I was like, okay, that's a hit song. That's amazing. So then we had other people, and then other music came in, and then before you know it, they had 2 songs, then they had 3 songs, and then we had 8 songs, which they had 4, and before you knew it, they were writing them all. But I was in and out because I just didn't think we worked together on the story and the music, and it wasn't until Justin and Benj really got the whole thing and they took it over that I was like, and this was 5 years in, and Michael Gracie had spent 5 years trying to get this movie made.
I'm amazed, I didn't know it was his first movie.
It was his first movie.
That's insane for this to be someone's first movie.
So I met him on I was doing a commercial. Sorry, this is going to be a too long a story, but it's a good one. So I met him on a Lipton iced tea commercial.
Sure. When I think musicals.
I hadn't paid the rent back in the day, so I was doing the Lipton iced tea commercial in Buenos Aires. Not Buenos Aires. We were in Rio, and and I had the script. I had no music, and about 2 days into filming, and we were singing and dancing in the commercial. I said, Michael, I've got a script for you. And he goes, yeah, whatever. I'm like, oh, fine. I mean, I don't have to send it to you if you don't want. He goes, dude, I've been doing this for 15 years. He'd been making commercials for 15 years. He said, so for 15 years, I ring my mum, and every actor does exactly what you just did. Usually it's at the rap party, they're like, you're awesome, man. We should do a movie together. And for about 10 years, I would ring my mum and say, George Clooney wants to do a movie with me. Leonardo DiCaprio wants to do a movie with me. And I believed it for 10 years, so I don't believe it anymore. So about 6 weeks later, I sent him the script, and he rang me and he goes, oh shit, you were serious, sorry. So that's how he came on. And back to your original question, there was a moment in Melbourne where I thought I was going to break up from the movie. I just didn't feel the studio were on board. I was like, and I felt really bad for him, and I talked with my agent, and I thought the best thing I can do for Michael is to say, let's stop, because this could go on and on and on, and I have a funny feeling it's never going to get made, and I don't want to do this to you. So I went into this meeting to break up, and I came out pregnant 45 minutes later. And I was so nervous because Michael's one of my best friends and he'd worked so hard, and so I told Deb, I said, Deb, can you just leave the hotel room? So she's waiting outside in the hallway. I was almost crying, but going, it was like a breakup. And I came out and we're hugging. Deb's like, that's the best breakup I've ever seen. I said, no,
let's talk about the production of this film, because these musical numbers are just absolutely tremendous. Did you workshop this like you were workshopping a show? Yeah. Like how do you get that level of cohesion, that kind of cast?
We did so many workshops. We did workshops with the most incredible cast. I mean, Cynthia Erivo, Aaron Tveit, there was Sutton Foster, you name it. We had the best of Broadway coming in and working with us on this material. People were so generous and so incredible. Michael would film everything. We actually filmed the entire thing in like hallways and wherever we were, so he cut the entire film together before we shot one frame. which I'd never seen done before. So, and all the numbers he would choreograph and shoot, because he wasn't sure, even when we were pitching it to the studio heads, we were in a room with a piano and drums, and he was like, I don't trust that they're going to really know what it's going to be. They're not going to hear it, they're not going to see it. So we were, at that final pitch, we had singers, he had a massive screen above our heads. It was the oddest thing, because we were doing the entire show live in a room, but above, the whole audience there, which was all money people, were just looking at the screen like this, because the entire thing either had artwork or the choreographed, cut together piece. So it was more the workshop. It was so well done, because he just knew that the people needed, the money people needed to see it. There hadn't been an original musical in 23 years at that point. So, yeah.
It's a really smart thing. Rob Marshall does that. I learned that from Marshall on Tick Tick Boom, of like, you rehearse it like it's a show. And so, there's not a moment you haven't touched by the time cameras are rolling. So that you're making the movie, and you're making the movie.
And the other great thing about that is, people ask me all the time, will this go live? Will there be a live show? And,
was that your question?
And I'm going to take that as encouragement, but I always say, I really hope so, because when you're in a room, even if it's like a rehearsal room and you're pitching, you know if it works. And some things can work on film that don't work in a room. This works in a room. So I just know that whatever that feeling the film gives will happen.
Oh shit, pooping. I want to ask about what was the hardest number? I get sweats when I think about you and Efron doing that other side choreography. I get, there's you and Michelle on the rooftop. Like, what was the most challenging number? Once the cameras are rolling and you're actually filming.
So all of them. We spent 8 weeks rehearsing with our shot glasses, Zach and I.
That's serious shot glassography.
Right. There was a lot of broken glass, let me tell you. But apparently Gene Kelly used to rehearse every number for 8 weeks. And when he did that movie with Sinatra was complaining. He goes, I do a whole movie in 8 weeks. And he goes, yeah, but not with me. So if you see the number where Frank is dancing with Gene Kelly, they're bouncing on the beds, you can see Frank really brings it. But that was 8 weeks. So we worked on it every day for 8 weeks. And we had 10 weeks of rehearsal. Another little funny story. This is how precarious this movie was. I'd forgotten this. I used to ride my bike across Williamsburg Bridge to where we were rehearsing in Dumbo. 7 weeks into rehearsal, so we're 2 weeks away from filming. I got a letter, literally like an actual letter, saying you must stop riding your bike. As of yesterday, the film is officially greenlit. I'm like, as of yesterday? We've been rehearsing for 7 weeks. That's how precarious this movie was.
I've had that call where an executive said, congrats, we're doing the movie. We've been prepping the movie for 6 months. What do you mean now we're doing the movie?
I've never been so happy to be told to stop riding my bike. I was like, great, no problem.
That is amazing.
The hardest, I didn't answer your question.
Yeah, hardest. So it wasn't the other side, was it?
No, not the rooftop.
That first one's no joke. Finale's no joke.
The finale is no joke. Come Alive is no joke. From Now On has its moments.
So it's so hard, y'all.
From Now On.
We were talking backstage about how every song Hugh sings so low at the beginning. Like it's always like, ladies and gents, this is I drink champagne with kings and queens. But it's so he can go up on the chorus and go up the octave.
Because when you work with Justin Revenge, you know you're going up, so I am enjoying the down.
Yeah.
My favourite thing is watching YouTube videos of kids doing From Now On, because that beginning bit is like...
So octaves aside, hardest number. Like what was the one that like really... Or is nothing hard for you because you're Wolverine and it hurts when the claws come out, like every time? My son just got so excited.
I'll come back to you with that. I'm thinking, I'm
Okay,
ready.
great.
Because basically they're all hard for me.
And then I also want to talk about sort of, you make the movie comes out and it is like the rarest thing because it comes out Christmas and it does okay.
Let's be honest. Officially, the second worst opening of a wide release of any movie in Hollywood history. The second worst. I feel bad for whoever.
Everyone I know went to see it, but that's my musical theater bubble.
You don't know this. You haven't had a bomb, so you don't understand this at all. But
It's coming.
when you have a real thing that is probably going to be a bomb, you get nothing. You get crickets. There's no email. When you get nothing, like sometimes you'll get what do the critics know? They know nothing. You are this and that. But when you get zero, you're like, oh, we're in real trouble. And it was Christmas. So people say, well, it's Christmas. People are on holidays. I'm like, not in Hollywood. They're not on holidays. Not at Christmas. So it sort of just...
But then a remarkable thing happened, which was you got the thing that no one can buy, which is everyone who left this movie said, you have to see this movie. And so the next weekend was bigger, and the next weekend was bigger, and then it's this massive hit. And here we are years later, all ready to sing along.
There's nothing sweeter, because really, what do we do this whole thing for, but for you guys? So when it is the you guys saying yes, it's everything. And this movie has just been such a surprise on so many levels, and I'm so glad that Michael Gracie convinced me not to break up with him and to get married and have children. But honestly, it's been one of the greatest joys of my life.
What do you attribute that to, though? Because that truly doesn't happen. Like that it opens, doesn't do well, and then word of mouth keeps it. Like that has not happened in a very long time. Like what do you attribute? What's in the movie? What's the secret sauce you think in terms of why it resonates with people?
First thing that comes to mind is the music and the musical numbers. It really, I think, touches people. People love that music, and I think also the story, as you were saying earlier, is really about community and about belief and about faith and about following your dreams no matter what anybody else says. Doesn't matter if people or the critics say this is not good, it's just follow your dreams and go. And there's something very positive and uplifting about it. And with the music, and as we know, when musicals work, they can just amplify everything that is in that story. So, yeah, I think it's...
And it's so fitting, right? Because it is about a showman who's making the stuff that the people love and critics, don't like.
Right.
And the people, keep it open, and the people are the ones who make it happen. And that is exactly what happened with the action. It's so meta, I can't even process it. I have one question from our friend Michelle Williams, who couldn't be here today, but played your wife in the film, and it's 4 words. When is the sequel?
Good question. Good question.
Well, this one took 10 years?
I'm looking at you like, you want to help us out? I mean, I love the character. Clearly, if anyone knows anything about my library of movies, I'm not against sequels. But particularly ones which are a movie that was so joyous and so rewarding, the people involved. And I think what happened, honestly, is it was a Fox movie, and then Fox got sold, and so there were some ideas brewing, and I think it just sort of went cold for a second. But I'd be totally open to it. Actually, if it's going to take another 8 years, we're going to hurry, because I'm going to be 62, so I was 61. So.
I also want to sort of let folks know, the other thing that's really crazy about this movie is, original musical movies, they're not a thing. It's very, very rare that an original film musical of this size and this scale gets made, because they're normally adaptations, or they're adaptation of some material. And so, the studio's faith in you guys and that you pulled it off it's like a unicorn, this movie.
Yeah, no, actually, I'm glad you said that, because, a couple of times I said, the money people and all that, and it's unfair, because the people we worked with on this movie from the studio really did believe, and I understand. I'll give you a little inside info. The metric of a musical no matter what, I remember this when we were doing Les Mis, they said you can't spend more than 60 million. It's just too many people out there who will never go to a musical. There's a lot of people who apparently say, not my thing, I'm never going. So when they're running the math, it just doesn't make sense. And we were an $85 million original musical. Nothing about that is a smart choice if you're a studio executive.
Yeah, I mean, even Broadway musicals, you try them out of town first.
Right.
Like, to go from 0 to that scale is...
So it was a huge leap of faith, and one of those sort of decisions that I would say a few people who have offices in that building could have lost their job over. It could have been that kind of thing. So I'm forever grateful for him, and it is a bit of a unicorn. And I thank my lucky stars. I honestly do. I can't believe it, and I'm thrilled you guys are here to watch it. And if I wasn't doing that, I'd come sit on the video.
Where did you film? Where did you guys film?
We filmed in New York.
You filmed in New York?
Yeah. So we filmed all around New York, and
incredible New York.
Mainly in Brooklyn.
Yeah, incredible New York talent in the movie. Kiala Settle as the bearded lady. You get to see Will Swenson slap a kid.
Yeah.
Really early in the movie.
Can I have a little moment to talk about Zendaya?
Yeah, let's talk about Zendaya.
We have an amazing cast. Everyone in this cast was amazing. But one of the things, I'm not going to say who, but one of the studio heads says, all right, if we're making this movie, we need some names. I need some security. Hugh, you've got the over 50s. I was like, oh.
Thank you.
We got Zach. The High School Musical crowd are now in their 30s. We need someone for the younger, and we've got this, we want to cast Zendaya. I was like, Zendaya, who? And by the way, Cynthia Origo did it in the workshop, so...
And now she's going to be Elphaba.
Right.
It all comes around.
So, I didn't know this, she's on a Disney show, I didn't know anything, I watched the Disney show, and I turned around and I said, I'm going to watch it. I turned it on, and it's her character in that show. So Casey Undercover, was that the name of the show? Yeah.
Children.
She's undercover in a circus. A tightrope walker in a circus. I'm like, oh, there's something with the stars here. When she walked on set, I've never seen anything like it. You just knew I said to someone, she is going to be the biggest star of her generation. And she could sing. I don't know if she could be an actor, she could be a singer, she could be a dancer. She's arguably a better dancer than all of it. Like, she's amazing. But she would have that thing because on the call sheet, she's probably 5 or 6, right? So there's a thing, it's not really a thing, but basically she would just sit on the side like she was a grip, just sitting over the side like one of the crew, and pink tutu, just like this. And we say, oh, Zendaya, we're going to do your close-up now. She goes, all right. And she just walk on, boom. And the first take is amazing. And Michael Grayson would come up to me and say, I'm going to do another take, but I'm going to use that one because it's perfect. But I don't want to embarrass you in front of everybody, so we're going to do 3. I said, because I did 12 takes, he goes, yeah. Every first take is just gold. Then the second is better. I've never seen anything like it.
It's really exciting when you see folks and you're like, oh, it's a star. I've met a star and the world doesn't know they're a star yet.
Yeah,
but they're a star.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's just fantastic. And then tell me a little bit more, because my favorite number is The Other Side. I think that thing, working with the Troy Bolton as Zac Efron, what was that like working with him?
It was just so good. That number it was one of the first numbers that he completely shot. So he shot it with doubles and aerialists and doing the whole thing. Oh, hang on, we're talking about The Other Side. Hang on, I'm getting confused. Yeah. No, I was thinking Rewrite the Stars. I was on
He's not trying!
The Other Side, Troy, man, that guy is just... That's another star. That's another Zendaya. That guy. Anyway, we rehearsed it for 8 weeks. We rehearsed every single day. Zach was just like a maniac with rehearsal with me, and I was the same because I knew when we shot it, we had like a day and a half. And it was interesting, you know, when things are working, when the studio rang up and said, listen, I know we've shot it, but it's so good, we're going to give you another half a day just in case you want some other stuff. Yeah, that never happens.
That never. More money, more resources, that never happens.
But Troy is just, he's another unicorn. He's a complete star, and the whole thing was a joy.
When it comes to unicorns, I think of you first. If you have not seen Hugh Jackman in The Music Man, please do what you can to go. You're so extraordinary. You and Sutton are just like unbelievable, and I cannot thank you enough for taking some time before your matinee. So please, everybody, give it up for the great YouTuber himself, Hugh Jackman. He's got to go, and he's got COVID.